Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Lies, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Podcast Network for any and all things Star Wars. Your host, as always, Katie, and joining me, subbing in for Clay on his paternity leave, we have the one and only Zach today.
Hola. How's everybody doing?
I really appreciate you subbing in, especially considering Clay's paternity leave was supposed to start in October, but congratulations to
Yeah.
happy couple. Little Amberlyn got brought home today, so she is absolutely the cutest thing, and I want one of my own now. We'll see how I can convince my husband.
Good luck.
So, Zach will be here for really the next month and a half, probably. We do have some other guests lined up just to kind of provide some other perspectives. I know the guys from Minot Manor will be on for Tales of the Jedi. Currently, obviously, plans can change. I accept that. But really excited for the month and a half to come abroad. I know it's going to go very quickly, and we will all miss Clay dearly. So, with that, I'm going to jump into the podcast paperwork side of things. Like I said, Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Podcast Network, where we have 8 shows, 7 days a week. Sundays, once a month, you have World's Finest True Believers. On Mondays, you have Ranger Alliance one week and Slice of Film the next. Tuesdays, it's DC Alliance. Wednesdays, Superhero Discussions. Thursdays, Star Wars Alliance. Friday's Marvel Alliance, and every other Saturday is a walk through the multiverse. So there's all your shows. We have 3 shows that go live throughout the week. The first show is DC Alliance, which goes live typically Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then obviously you're here at Star Wars Alliance. We typically go live around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For the next month and a half, we will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No 7 p.m. I know I will miss it too, but 9 p.m. is the place to be. We're joining the rest of the crew. We're going to see how it goes. Maybe we'll stick around. I don't know. And then Thursdays at 9-10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you have Marvel Alliance. And those 3 shows also do have their own solo feeds, so you can go check them out individually. Or if you'd like, you can stick around on the GUA Pod Network feed, where we have all 8 shows for ease of access. There are 3 ways to support the show and the network as a whole. The first way, you're already doing it. You're here, and there are ads in this episode. We appreciate you listening to ads, as they do help support us. And I will give you a warning before those are to occur. Clay does a little editing magic so that I don't have to remember them right away. But now I do have to remember them. Anyways, so I will give you a warning before those are to occur, but just so you know, now we don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how many times you hear the same ad in the same episode, nor how loud they are. So that warning's just to help you prepare those volume levels. I am really sorry for how chaotic I am right now. I've been up since 4 a.m. for the show,
Yep.
and had a
5
lot of stuff
a.m.
going on. So tired. The second way to support us is by rating and reviewing on your favorite podcatcher of choice. That takes 30 seconds. You just scroll down on whatever podcatcher you are. Those reviews help put us into the feeds of other listeners who may not be following us on social media. God, please help me. The last way to support us is via Patreon, where we have 2 tiers. The $1 tier helps keep the Kyber crystals charged around here, and the $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, and any early episodes that may drop. With that, we're going to be skipping the news today because we had 3 episodes drop on Disney Plus. So that's a lot to talk about. As
It's a
is,
lot to
we would
talk
be
about.
here. It is. So we're just gonna jump right into it. We're gonna handle if there's any particular news that y'all heard in the Star Wars stratosphere in the past week that y'all want us to talk about. Feel free to DM us, let us know on Twitter. I am trying to use Twitter more. I make no promises, but I did really well this week, I think. Y'all, I'm trying to make a good impression on Zach so he'll want to come back and not just ghost me. I don't know if I'm killing it right now, but
You're doing pretty good so far.
This is not coffee, by the way. This is apple cider, so not caffeinated either.
I probably should have got some coffee before this. I just have water right now.
ginger ale, water, and then I have another water because I
Yeah,
just
I have some ginger ale as well.
mm.
Still no caffeine.
No, caffeine's a bad idea. I have been caffeine free now for a year and a half. Very
Oh
proud of myself.
wow, you're stronger than I am.
The anxiety just gets really bad if I don't. So,
Fair, very fair.
um, so okay, episode 1. And if anyone, we're not going to try and hit beat by beat
Okay.
for those who are listening. But there will still be spoilers in this. Obviously, this did drop very early this morning and it was 3 episodes. So if you haven't dropped, or if you haven't dropped them, if you have not watched them, and are concerned about spoilers, go watch them. It was about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes of watch time. So not too long, and then you can come back because this is the place to be. The recaps we are using just to kind of like refresh our memory from this morning are on Collider from Maggie. So that is another place that you can pull them. So with that, we start off on Morlana 1. And I love that Tony Gilroy brought back putting the name of the planets on the screen. And then I think this is like the first canonical use of the BBY because he puts
Yeah,
5 BBY on screen.
I'm pretty sure you're right on that one because I don't remember seeing that actual terminology on screen before, and it felt very Rogue One because I think Rogue One is the only other one that's done those title cards like that, where it had the actual, planet name. So I really appreciated that. And I
Derek
mean,
is in
I'm a
the
lore
chat.
junkie, so I like to, make sure that I know the name of every planet that they show on the screen.
I like to know that too because it bugs me because I'll look at a planet and like especially like in the Mandalorian trailer where it looks like Batu on screen.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's gotta be Batu. And like Clay and I talked about it last week and we were like bouncing back and forth, like, is it Batu? I wish Mando would do that because that would just be
agreed,
helpful.
agreed.
Um, and then this was a hot topic that hit Twitter yesterday, I think.
Oh,
Where basically I think Variety was the one who wrote about it. They said Andor makes the first reference to basically sex
oh,
in
for like the
a galaxy
on-screen
far, far away.
stuff, yeah, because there's
Yeah,
definitely been plenty of books that have touched on that topic for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that
Um,
was kind of interesting because I had been trying to avoid the Twitter, news because I literally probably just finished watching them about an hour ago. So I didn't want to get any accidental spoilers, but I did catch a little bit of that. People were kind of, get not really getting heated over it, but I definitely I feel like I have the right people blocked because I wasn't seeing any bad reactions, just people reacting to the bad reactions. So
I didn't either. Like, and it was the site's fault completely because they were
yeah,
like first reference to sex in a galaxy far, far away, and the first on-screen reference to sex for sure.
I wonder how they think Padme got pregnant.
Or Leia,
Yeah.
or
I mean, I know that
um,
Shmi kind of straight up said no father, but that was one time. Just saying.
and she literally said miraculous conception in the movie too.
Yeah, she did.
So,
She did. Yeah, there was no father.
yep. But so that is where we start off on Morlana 1 is a brothel of all places. And Cassian goes in and I love this. He's just like playing it off completely and then is like Canary. And he's like, I'm looking for a girl from Canary. And everyone's like, Canary, that's a weird place. And so the girl has disappeared, so he's not able to find her. But then he leaves and he was harassed by these what I thought were Imperial officers from the
That's
get-go,
what I
because
thought
they're
they
not.
were at first. Yeah, I thought they were Imperials as well.
And they're corporate sentries
Yeah.
for basically the mining
Like
corporation
they're not even
in
really
the
cops. She
Morlana.
said that they're trying to be cops. Like it's more like
Yeah.
they're like, security guards that are trying to
Your
actually
mom's
step up.
security guard.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, so that was a really interesting scene, and I definitely really like how we've approached the little people.
Agreed.
Hi, Clay.
Oh, surprise
Welcome.
appearance.
And we have little
Oh, it's a
Amberlynn.
baby.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi.
I was not expecting this.
Nope, just wanted to come on and say thank you, Zach, for
Yeah,
taking some time out of this month to take over my role.
no
Um,
problem, man.
yeah, and Katie, you're doing good. Listen to the first half on my way to go grab dinner just now. But yeah, just wanted to come say hi, surprise you guys. Y'all have a good time reviewing. I am still watching the episodes. Really looking forward to y'all's review. And of course, going to be editing it tonight. So just wanted to stop by. See you guys later.
You sound really tired.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired, but
Oh,
gonna get through it. Gonna get through it. So see you guys later.
Cheers.
bye.
Hey,
So
there was Clay.
that was a cute baby. First off,
Amberlynn is so cute.
I'm a sucker for babies. You know, you
Me
one of my
too.
coworkers had a baby recently, and she every time she brings him up there, I'm just like, okay.
Clay sent us some videos of his dog Flynn meeting Amberlynn for the first time. And oh my gosh, she was like making like these little cooing noises and then she started like screaming. But that's what babies do. So
Yeah.
I was just like
Oh, that's cute. So
Alright, so where were we?
that we are talking about that opening scene in the bar, and I actually
Yeah.
wanted to talk about that because I was talking to some friends earlier about how that scene didn't feel like Star Wars, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like it was so tense and very like on edge in a way that I'm not used to Star Wars feeling. Like Star Wars has had tense moments before, but that felt very like I don't know, espionage almost. And I mean that it's Cassian, that's what he's supposed to be doing. So it's definitely what we were promised with the premise of this show.
Yeah, and I really I really liked that because honest to goodness, the whole of the 3 episodes truly feels like a spy movie, a James Bond,
Yeah.
but it's meant for television with the way the plot develops and it's giving you more accessibility to the characters involved. So realistically, we're getting 5 James Bond movies this
Yeah.
season, however
Yeah.
you want to time them.
And not
And
to
I
jump
really
ahead
think it's
too
gonna be
far.
good.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't
Oh,
trying
you're
to
good.
jump in there. But yeah, not to jump ahead too far. I'm not gonna like spoil anything from the third episode. But based off of where the third episode ends, I completely get why they gave us the 3 episodes right away because it does feel like one big story leading up to where they kind of ended off. But I really like you said, the episodic nature of it. Like you can tell it's going to feel very episodic, and I really like how they're doing that.
Yeah, completely. Amy is in the chat as well. Zach has a lot of friends saying hi.
Hi
Um,
guys.
okay. So from there, he finds out the Canary Girl isn't in the brothel, that she's left. And so he goes to leave. And basically, the sentries kind of chase after him and are like basically hounding him for a bribe
Yeah.
so that he can go off world, kind of thing. And Cassian's not okay with that
No.
because apparently, and we come to find this out, he owes a lot of people money.
A lot of
So he doesn't
people,
want
it
to give
seems
up
like.
any money.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I
And this scene, sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I really like how he was like, I got 300 credits in my pocket, and that one guy's like, oh, that's the perfect amount for what we need. Like it's just so skeezy.
Yeah, it was absolutely skeezy because basically, like, Cassian offers that up to try and like get out of like a bigger bribe and is like, this is
Hmm.
all I have. And the guys were like, okay, take it.
Yeah.
Um, but this action sequence, because it's not huge, but it does a lot with the minimal time it has on screen, I feel
I
like.
agree. Yeah.
Um, very well choreographed and one of the guards ends up dead. We don't know if he was shot or if it was just like a mishap, like he hit his head when he fell.
I may have I was trying to watch for that the second time I watched it because I was telling you before we came live that I watched the first episode this morning and then I rewatched it again when I got home with the other two, and Cassian picks a guy up and slams him on the ground, and I'm not sure if it's the guy that died or not, but if he did, I was wondering if he like maybe got some sort of like spinal injury because Cassian hit him hard. Like I was actually
Yeah.
I was kind of proud of him in that moment. I was like, wow, that's a big hit because that was kind of a bigger guy.
Yeah, and for not like that's a bad thing, but Diego Luna's scrawny.
Well, and they were
So
calling him scrawny. Like it's not like they
yeah.
were, we're not pointing anything out that the show itself didn't call him. Like but he took that guy on. I was like, yeah, get it, Cassian.
Yeah, because it was killer.
Yeah.
So that guy ends up dead, and the guard's like, "We can go in together. I'll like, I'll vouch for you. We'll just say it was an accident." Blah blah blah, like bar fight type thing. And Cassian's like, "I'm not gonna survive that. You don't survive that."
No. Well, and there was a moment. So when I was watching it earlier, like I love that actor did a really good job because he like when he first sees Cassian, he's like, "You killed him," and he's like so angry, and then he like notices Cassian still holding the blaster, and he's like, or we could just say we were palling around, and we took things a little too rough. You just didn't get what we were doing, like." It was just such a switch, and it was so good. So that actor did a really good job for that small role that he had.
He really did, and that's something to say across really the probably going to be the whole season because there's 218 speaking parts
Wow, I
in the
did not know
season.
that. That's a lot.
Yeah, in the full season, 218 speaking parts. So it's really like delving into like the little people aspect, which I'm excited to see like the Coruscant stuff and see how that plays out.
Yeah,
But we didn't go to Coruscant in these 3 episodes.
we did not. We did not see
Um,
Mon Mothma at all.
and I am sad about that.
I am
But
too. I'm a Mon Mothma fan. But I definitely liked the focus on Cassian for these three.
it did. What did you think about, and I'm going to take this term from, I think it was Aiden, or no, it was Alden, I think, on Twitter, the space mommy, because we've had so many space poppies.
Space.
Big, or Adriana.
Are you referring to Oh goodness, hold on.
Adriana's Biggs, the one who was working in the
Oh,
field.
as Bix. So she is very attractive. That's very clear. I thought her and Cassian were together when that first started. So when that other guy came in, I was like, "Oh, this is really awkward." I thought I thought it was just implied that her and Cassian were together at first. So the first time I watched it, I actually felt a little bit awkward. And then I was like, "Okay, she's just friends with Cassian." So it took me a second to kind of adjust to the situation that was being presented.
I feel like they have dated because that's like the feel we got from like interviews and stuff.
Well, in the droid when they were talking, this may be in a later episode. It may not have been in episode 1, but when they're talking about like the different girls that Cassian brings home, like that was one of the names mentioned. So I don't
Oh,
think
I missed that.
she,
Um,
he says like 3 random names, and then he like peppers that one in there, and then Cassian's like, "Leave Bix out of this." It was kind
yeah,
of
I think I remember that now. Um, so like they definitely have had a relationship. Whether or not
yeah,
it's romantic is something to say. Um, for future episodes because we don't know
yeah,
yet. But like I feel like Cassian and Vix, like Cassian's the ex that it just like kind of hangs around, and Adriana's I keep calling her Adriana. That's the actress's name. Vix is like, yeah, I still like you. I'm gonna put up with you. Like
yeah.
she's trying to be friends, but it's not ever going to truly be just friends.
Yeah, it's like he's the ex that like her family kind of adopted, and then when they broke up, they still just like let him hang around and come to like family dinners and stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. um, so I'm gonna basically I'm going to kind of cover like present day, and then we can talk
Okay.
briefly about like the flashback scenes to when
Okay.
he was a kid. Just to kind of finish that off. But
Yeah.
So one of the inspectors in the corporate guard, which I still cannot find the name of. I don't understand. So
Are you talking
anyways,
about the main guy?
Cyril Karn.
Cyril,
Yeah.
yeah. That guy. I've been
And
tweeting about Cyril a little bit.
oh my gosh, he's like the bad person that you don't want to like, but you have to like because he's just so pathetic.
So, somebody was telling me that he's the guy that reminds your teacher that you have homework, and I thought that was a really good
Yep.
description of him.
That is a very good description because when asked if he'd made any modifications to the uniform, he says, well, just a little
Just a few.
piping and stitching and some light tailoring.
Added some pockets.
So yeah, and sometimes you need pockets, but like that was like, okay, man, I see
Yeah.
how it is.
And I absolutely loved his boss. The guy's just like, look, I don't want to deal with this paperwork. Can we just say that, they stopped a small crime, but don't make it too big because then we got to throw them a parade. I don't want to go through that either. Just like
Yeah,
make it go under the radar. Like, I respect that guy.
I'm so curious to see how that continues to play out
Yeah.
because what's gonna happen to Cyril when that happens?
I have two
Anyways.
theories for him right now for where he's going to go. So either I think he's going to be super radicalized and like become that guy that's like, I'm going to take the rebellion down at any cost and, probably get himself killed. Or I'm hoping I'm wrong and he becomes a dark horse and like Cassian gets in his head and starts to make him realize like, oh, you're serving a corrupt system and you should probably reevaluate that.
Initially, I had him picked for one of the first fulcrums. Now I'm not so certain because he's not working for the Imperials technically yet.
Yeah, yet's a good answer. I'm honestly wondering how involved this corporate security is because they're like, oh, we're the Empire's front line. We're the ones that take care of stuff before they need to come in. And I feel like the Empire, like the stormtroopers, as far as we knew, were the lowest soldiers. Like that's who everybody craps on. But then
Yep.
we got these guys, so these are who the stormtroopers are probably crapping on. And it's just kind of
That's still a
interesting to
very
find
good
out that it keeps going down. Like, I mean, you know what they say about what rolls downhill, and I can't imagine how that isn't under the Empire.
All right. So we kind of end the first episode and Cassian tells Bix, hey, I have this piece. I need you to contact your guy. And we find out Bix is kind of like in the underground smuggling
Yeah.
of old Imperial equipment to other people she doesn't know anything about. She just
Which,
makes money.
small divergent with Bix. Was she working on pod racer parts? Because I feel like the first
That's
time you
what
see
it
her,
looked
that's what
like.
it looks like she's working on is pod racer parts.
Yeah,
Or
because it
like,
had like all of the engines and stuff.
I was thinking either that or like the engine for the Naboo starfighter. I'd have to go back and I didn't ever do like an evaluation. I told myself I was going to, and I never did. But that was what I thought. Sorry, just kind of a little small tangent of what I was thinking when I saw her pop up.
Yeah, I thought Pod Racer parts too because it looked like Sebulba's
Yeah.
pod engine was there on the same page.
Okay.
Hello,
Good.
Mo.
Hi, Mo.
So it kind of ends with him looking to kind of get off world, make some
Yeah.
money off the what does he say the part is? NS9 Star Pack unit.
They kept calling it the
And it's
box.
fully sealed. Yeah. It's like it's a navigational box that basically can tell you like Imperial locations and stuff.
They,
So
they
it's
might
got
as
all of
well have
those
written like
pre-programmed.
MacGuffin on the side of it. It's like it's a box. You need it. It's the box.
It's a box. The box is important. Save the box. Save the world. Save the cheerleader.
Exactly.
Save the world. I don't know. So okay. So the flashbacks that we get, it's just two, and kind of the first one is the explanation of like because B2 Emo calls him Cassian Casa, and that's kind of linking that flashback person to Cassian because the little sister, who we assume is who
Hmm.
Cassian's looking for, calls him Cassia. So
Yes.
that's the first flashback where we see what we come to find out is a Republic cruiser crash land on, I guess, the planet of Kenari.
That's what I was assuming too. I'm wondering if there was some sort of like we know there was a mining disaster. They mentioned that like in a later episode. So I'm wondering if those are all like orphans of children whose parents died in that mining disaster.
That's what Matt pointed out to me because he was like, they're all children. Where are the adults?
Yeah.
And like we know, I don't know if you've read Padawan, but like Padawan,
Not yet. I just got that. That's next on my list actually.
you gotta read it before High Republic 2.
Gotcha. No,
This
that's
boy.
definitely the plan.
So Padawan, this isn't a huge spoiler, but like
No, I feel free. You're
mostly
good.
mostly kids on the planet, is what Obi-Wan finds. There's a situation in Star Wars 2015, Volume 5, where Yoda does the same thing. He finds all children on a planet and is
Yeah.
very confused. So similar mindset, I guess. But we actually didn't end up seeing any Jedi, which I was surprised about because Cassian in Rogue One states that he's been in this war since he was 6 years old, which would put him in the Clone Wars. So I was curious, like, okay, what happened to get you in the rebellion? Would we at least like see a lightsaber or two? I don't know. How did you feel about
No, I completely wondered that myself because, and so I think it's funny that before this show we were like, well, one of the few things we know about Cassian is that he's from the planet Fest, and then they're like, no, he's not from the planet Fest. Nice try though, but I remember I think it was one of the reference guys. It may not have even been a full book mentioning that like when Cassian was little, he got paid to like throw rocks at clones, and I was hoping to see some of that. And I know the trailer has shown flashbacks with clone troopers. So I'm still, going to hold my breath and see what involvement they have in the show. But yeah, I
that? Oh yeah,
agree.
I
I was
forgot about
kind of
that.
thinking some sort of Jedi would show up and like, communicate with these kids. So when it was, like smugglers, I thought that was a kind of interesting turn.
Especially when they had like the Republic. Or you're talking about in episode 3 with
Yeah,
Marva
sorry,
and
I
I guess
jumped ahead
her
a little
husband.
bit. Yeah, it like it's all kind of running together in my head when I watch it back to back like that.
That's what happens when you drop 3 episodes at once, Disney.
Yeah, it's true. It felt like a movie though, so I wasn't completely mad about it.
Yes, exactly. Mo says death pod racer parts. Zach, at least that's my headcanon. I believe in the power of headcanon, you know?
Same,
You gotta do what you
same.
gotta do.
It's true until proven
And
otherwise.
yes, exactly. That's why Mara Jade still lives in canon Star Wars. I know I'm a nerd, okay? That's my Legends bookshelf back there.
You
Don't
hold
judge
on
me.
to that hope, girl. Nobody's gonna take that from you.
No one will. Okay. So okay. I need to write down the time for Clay. 28:18. First time written down. Hello, Scott. Honest, a pretty good episode 1. I would agree.
I agree too.
Episode 1 gets you involved. It has a lot of the small characteristics that you really love with a good character-based story. I saw Tom from Delray comment on this, and he was like, the 3 episodes of Andor dropped today feel the most like one of our books. And that's not a bad thing.
Yes. No, that's really good because Mando has always kind of felt like a comic book to me, if that makes sense. Like it's had that
Oh my
feel.
gosh.
Bless you. But yeah, Mandalorian's always felt like a comic book to me when I'm watching it. Like it's got that. So when they did the Mando comic, I got really excited about that. But yeah, I would agree. Andor feels a lot like a Star Wars book, like the way those books kind of move forward and kind of keep the narrative going. I agree. I think that's a really good observation.
Mhm. And he would know because he's the editor.
Yeah, he would know
um,
better than any of us would.
um, so, where would you say episode 1, I guess, ranks out of 5?
So 4 out of 5 stars. So for a premiere, I would give that 4.5 out of 5, honestly. And I feel like I'm judging it harshly. I was talking to my friends about this earlier. My biggest complaint with it was the lack of aliens. I felt like there was like only like a couple aliens, and I like a lot of aliens in my Star Wars, but I don't feel like that's fair to judge the full story. As far as the story goes, I think that was a fantastic start. So I'd say 4.5 out of 5 stars, or just 4 out of
I'm
5.
giving it like a. I think I'm giving it like a 4.
4.
Just because of like some story issues I would have liked to see like a little bit, just because we know Mon Mothma's coming, I guess. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to just get a glimpse into Coruscant. Probably a little too harsh to judge it, but like I loved episode 3. So
Yeah, same.
anyways.
Yeah, judging
Um
this episode by itself it's definitely different than judging all 3 together.
yeah. Scott says 4.2. So I can
4.2.
appreciate that.
That's
I
yeah.
have been told recently by my editors I'm no longer allowed to do anything other than a 4.0 or a 4.5, like 0.0s or 0.5s. So I'm trying to stick to that.
That's why I said 0.0 and after I said 4.5, because I was like, well, I figured you'd probably tell me out of 10 if you wanted me to do the increment. So
No, I'm a letterbox person, so
okay,
I like
okay,
fives
okay. So
because
4.5 then.
that's how my brain goes.
I'll
Yes,
give it a solid 4.5 from me.
go with me. Go with me. Yes, best part of one, the introduction of his mom. I did
Agreed.
not know that this was Petunia Dursley until somebody from the premiere put them side by side and said like, "What a glow up" or something. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, "Petunia? That's Petunia?" So that kind of
See,
shocked me.
I didn't know until earlier when somebody was saying that this is not the worst that they've seen her treat a child when they're because I was like,
Oh
I
my
mean,
god!
that's very true. I mean, she has definitely treated children a lot worse.
All right. So jumping into episode 2, this one I feel like while we need it for the character developments of other players involved and everything, um, I I feel like this one was just too focused on exposition, and it got too
Yeah,
waylaid in it.
I would definitely agree with
Uh,
it.
so I guess what are the high points for you from this episode?
From episode 1 or episode 2?
Episode 2. We are on to episode
Episode 2.
2.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't, lagging behind. Uh,
You're good. We're
so
still figuring out each other's flow.
no, for sure, for sure. So I episode 2 was really good. I liked how I was really into the stuff with Cyril, like what was going on with him. I that one guy that I didn't catch the guy's name, but it's like I guess like a sergeant or something that's kind of like serving with him on this. That guy was like such an ass kisser. Like he
Yes,
nailed it
he was.
so well.
Matt kept leaning over me and go, brown noser, brown noser.
Yes. Yes, that's completely true. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
Um, I was trying to. Okay, I can't find his name, but that guy is the first guy to say shit on screen for Star Wars.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I thought that was kind of funny. It's definitely appropriate that it's a Scottish accent that's gonna be the first one to say shit.
And it was so well timed, like it wasn't like a just off kilter.
No, it felt very
Um,
natural.
yes, yes, Scott. In I think it's episode 3. I think it's
Yeah,
episode
we jumped ahead
3.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got so good. It was all so good, and I just want to kind of skip over episode 2 and go to episode 3. But episode 2 does have the very important aspect of like kind of developing Tim and Bix together to
Yeah.
kind of see where their relationship is at, but also because Cassian asks her, "Oh, can you trust him? Like, does he know?" And she's like, "He'd do anything for me." And yes, honey, she would, including trying to get your ex-boyfriend off your back.
Yeah. Yeah, I I'm conflicted about Tim because I think what he did was very bad, and I don't like what he did at all. But I also kind of understand where he's coming from because he's like, well, this guy's about to get my girlfriend thrown into prison, so I kind of want to shut that down. But him going through as soon as he started, it may have been in episode 3. I'm pretty sure it was in this episode though when he actually like started going through her computer. Like as soon as she leaves, that's when I was like, all right, he's crossing the line. Like, yeah, their relationship was
Yes.
kind of interesting.
I was so mad at him. I was like, Tim, I wanted to like you, man. Like, come
Yeah, like
on.
you lost your chance for me to root for you, bud.
Yeah. Because we all know Cassian Andor is a not nice person, even if he fights for the rebellion.
True.
Um, he's just a little bit of a bad boy.
Well, and
Which is why his droid is named B2 Emo, apparently.
speaking of B2 emo, okay, I'm putting my foot down now, and I'm refusing to get attached to him because I do not have a hopeful future in mind for him. I do not think that's what's going to happen, and I do not want to be sad whenever that comes about. So I'm just I'm it's like, like when you bring a dog home and your dad refuses to try and get attached to it. That's me with this droid now.
I want to get so attached though because he's so cute. And you can tell he's getting so old because it's like, I'll have to go home and recharge before going back.
I loved his
Like,
little when Cassian said, "Can," I think it was in episode 1, but he's like, "Can you lie for me?" It's like, "Yeah, I've got power to lie." And it's like, "Oh, he has to devote power to lie." That's so cute. And see, like these little details, they're trying to reel me in, and it's unfair. And I know what they're doing. It's emotional terrorism, and I won't stand for it.
I know. I don't know what to do. All right. Scott says he's going to be tossing out some interesting questions about 1 through 3.
Okay.
So, first up, is Andor's mother an apology for how ridiculous Haldo was?
You'll get no sympathy from me. I love Holdo.
I love Haldo as well. Especially reading Princess Leia of Alderaan, the Claudia Gray young
Yeah,
adult book. Very good book.
agreed.
Does a lot for Haldo. And then rewatching Last Jedi over and over again, I grow more attached to Haldo every single
Agreed.
time.
And I like
So
Laura Dern a lot. Like I was a big Jurassic Park fan. I mean,
yes,
I think everybody was, honestly. And yeah, so getting her in Star Wars was a big win for me.
I agree. I was sad she had to go so soon.
Same.
Um, all right. So episode 2 is where we meet Andor's mother, Marva, for the first time. And that is where they find that the Pre-More Authority, which is the name of the company, is looking for a Canary man. And Marva kind of flips out and is like, "Who have you told? Like, what's going on, man?"
Yeah.
And so he has apparently told a lot of people.
He's like,
Um,
just these few
and
people,
he
but
doesn't
you
bring
told
up
some
that he
people
went to a
too.
brothel.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's just like, just went and did some stuff. It's a very shady relationship between the two of them. There's there's clearly a lot of trust between him and Marva, but there's also like clearly like I have no problems lying to this person until later when I don't have to lie to her.
Yeah. And Marva just is like the so pointed. Like I'm betting we're gonna find out like she had she lost a child or something and kind of like picked up Cassian to kind of compensate, I
Yeah,
guess is the
yeah,
right word.
yeah.
Because
I'm still reeling
she
with that
feels like that type of
decision
person.
because the whole we'll talk about that when we jump to episode 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, don't want to jump ahead of myself.
Um and this is where we find out this conversation is where she falsified records to have him
Hmm.
born on Fest instead of Canary.
Yeah, that was a
Um,
big betrayal to me because I remember like that. I thought first off, I thought that was a cool planet name. I thought Fest was a cool name, but I remember like that was Cassian was the character from Rogue One that I feel like the first time I watched Rogue One, I had a hard time connecting to a lot of the characters. I liked the two Guardians of the Wills, Chirrut and Baze. I liked them
yeah,
a lot. But I didn't really connect to everybody on the first go around. It took me like kind of reading, books and stuff before I started to connect to everybody else. Cassian, though, was the first one where I was like, okay, I get this guy. I like where he's coming from. Like, I'm very, I'm sold easily by a conflicted bad boy. You know, just give me somebody that's doing bad things but hates that they're having to do bad things, and I will support that person. Unfortunately,
See, I find it kind of interesting to see where they'll take the story though with that, because to me, I mean, we've like in Legends, and I mean, heck, even in like the Clone Wars TV show, we've seen where the Republic will find a planet, give it a name or something, or it's had a name and they've never visited, and now they're visiting it.
yeah.
And so they go down, and then they're like, no, this is the planet XYZ. So Fest, you could have said, oh, this is Fest in Republic terminology, but Canary for like the local people. So
Well, and I think that's going to play into, because from my understanding, I believe Andor comes from oh, I forgot her name already. His mother, though, like the one that adopted him. So I think that's where the Andor name, if Wikipedia is to be believed, when I was looking at it earlier, I don't have it pulled up right now, but I believe they were saying that Andor is her name. So from what I understand, she had, like, as far as his documentation goes, people think that Cassian is her biological son. But I think, they were talking a little bit, like you said, about the people, who has he told, and then who has she told about, like, that he's not actually her son, where they're from. And she was even saying, like, they're family. So, like, I'm really interested to see more about their relationship with the people that were covering for them at the end. Like, I want to know more about that. I think that's pretty interesting, because that's a very tight knit
I think
community.
that will be interesting to see, especially with like the adopted father that we see.
Hmm.
That's too far ahead. Um, Scott has a question, and I'm going to generalize this to Star Wars,
Okay.
because I don't remember either of these if they're not Star Wars. So the first Star Wars movie I saw in theaters was The Force Awakens. I had been a huge Star Wars fan before that, and I was really excited to get to see my first Star Wars in theaters. Um, the first Star Wars book I ever read shocks a lot of people, but it was Children of the Jedi. Uh, and I read that one on my own for the first time. My mom read us Revenge of the Sith novelization,
It's a good
because
choice.
Revenge of the Sith was too scary to see in theaters. So she edited Revenge of the Sith to take out like the adult portions. So I don't consider that the first Star Wars book I ever read. So Children of the Jedi, which is a Legends book, and it is one of the craziest Star Wars books ever.
I've never
Um,
read it, but I've heard that before.
Everybody says that, and so when I tell people this is the first Star Wars book I ever read, they're like, "And this made you a Star Wars fan?" And I was like, "You're damn right
Absolutely.
it did."
For me, I was a big Star Wars fan pretty much since I was a little kid. My older brother was a big Star Wars fan. He saw the originals in theaters. So he got me into those with his, like, VHS sets, and then I saw Phantom Menace in theaters, and I don't remember much from when I saw. I was 6 years old at the time. So that's actually that's not just one of my first Star Wars movies. That was one of my first, like, movie theater experiences. And so I remember the pod race, and I remember the fight with Darth Maul at the end. Like, I do not remember much before that or after that, but I remember being, like, so entranced with that. And I remember we had I had an aunt and uncle and some cousins, and they had a surround sound system. And I remember telling them, like, when this movie comes out on VHS, I'm coming over so we can watch this on your surround sound system, because there's a race and it's loud and it's fun. And I was just, like, so excited about that. And then my first book, so I know I read some, like, I guess they were like young reader books with Anakin and Obi-Wan when I was in, like, middle school. I could not tell you any plot details about them at all right now. So the first one that I consider my first true book was A New Dawn. I remember it was, like, right after Disney had bought Star Wars, and, like, Force Awakens was announced and we knew it was coming. I think the first trailer had maybe come out, and, like, Star Wars was new again, and I knew that, like, the books were starting over, and I was kind of interested in getting into that. And so I got on there, I checked that out, and I was like, okay, I knew that Rebels was coming out, and I knew this was a companion to it. And I'm one of the people that was very hesitant about Rebels at first. I did not think I was going to like it. I didn't think it was going to be for me, and I'm so glad I was wrong. That's actually one of my top tier Star Wars medias, period. And A New Dawn really set the stage for that because I went into Rebels with an attachment to Kanan and Hera right away, thanks to that book. So
I
I
still
still
have not
consider
read
that
that one.
special. It's a good one. Like it's not like super high stakes. You know, there's not. I mean, there is some pretty good stakes to it, but it's mostly just like, you know, how did Kanan and Hera meet? What was like their early interactions like, stuff like that. And so that's actually why I was so surprised when people didn't know that Kanan and Hera were together for so long. It's because that book, it feels very clear that they're at least leading towards a romance, and then we knew, or I knew, that 5 years passed between the end of that book and the start of Rebels. So I was like, I mean, clearly they were together. I mean, there was so much tension between them, and I just kind of forgot that everybody else didn't read that book as well.
Yeah, because I started reading the canon Star Wars books probably right after Last Jedi, because Last Jedi was 2 years before I finished college, so I was finally slowing down with like some of my classes and stuff,
Hmm.
so I started picking them back up. So a lot of the earlier stuff I didn't get to. We have a lot of passion for Star Wars over here.
Yes, we
It's
do.
what we are. All right, so Andor.
Andor,
Um, so okay, so Cyril,
Cyril,
whatever his name is.
Cyril.
Um, Cyril, I like this. Um, so he does basically a lot of prepping. He meets with the sergeant that we talked about,
Hmm.
that is the brown noser, um, and basically goes on their merry way to go find Cassian
Hmm.
because Tim reports Cassian to the tip hotline.
Hmm. Yeah, they wouldn't have even known. They would have no way to have found him. Like, I think that's interesting that they like point that out. That like Tim clearly thought he was doing the right thing, even though he was clearly, you know, being jealous and not really thinking things through completely. But yeah, like they point out very clearly, like if he had not specifically told them where Cassian was from, they would have no way of even looking for Cassian because they were
Yep,
specifically
because
looking
all his
for a
records
guy
were
from that
forged
planet.
for facts.
Yes, exactly. I thought that was a really nice little touch. Like that's a good way to make me be like, okay, that guy definitely made the wrong decision.
Yeah. And then we talked about Cassian's moves through the episode,
Hmm.
and then we kind of get more into the Canary flashbacks, where
Yes.
we have the group leader who is played by, where's her name? Malini Raman Middleton, and she plays a threatening teenager.
She definitely did, which I like that she was like, I don't know, she stuck up for Cassian. It was either the beginning of this episode or the end of the last one when they're like, you know, they're getting ready and they're all marking themselves, and like that one guy tried to stop, or Casa, I should say. They were stopping him, and she is like, no, he like, I obviously we don't know what they're saying. We don't even with the subtitles on. I don't know if anybody was watching with subtitles. I am hard of hearing, so I have to watch with
Yes,
subtitles.
I was so frustrated, but it actually leads you more into the beauty of the storytelling because you're dependent
Agreed.
on body language.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It was like it was very clear like what was going on, even though I had no idea what they were saying. I thought that was a really great touch.
So they delve into where the Republic ship crashed,
Yes.
and they find two men kind of strewn about on the ground, and they both have like a yellowish skin tint. Um,
Yeah, I was wondering about that. There's a line in the third episode, I believe, that kind of makes me think that I was so when I first saw them, I was like, "Are these guys aliens? Like, is that what's going on?" Because they all had the same like tint
yeah,
to their skin, but then they said some. They were wearing masks, and then they said something about like it's cleared out. So I was wondering if like are these supposed to be humans that are like poisoned or infected with something? I was kind of curious about that.
that's what I don't know because they all were wearing a mask, and I'm like, if you like, clearly the Canary are human,
Yeah.
and obviously the ship is typically going to be set up with life support for the people on board. So why would you have masks readily available? Scott, there were not subtitles for the Canary speech. All of that was not, it just said Canary speaking Canary or
Yeah,
whatever. But if you access subtitles for like the rest of it, then you can see like the basic. They called it English, which I found interesting
yeah,
because every other show has called it basic.
yeah.
So
Oh, I just wanted to do a brief shout out while we're on episode 2. The bell guy with the hammers. He's probably my new
yes,
favorite side character. I just wanted to mention him.
new favorite Glupsha. That
Yes,
is
yes. He
that's
had such a passion for his job, and I definitely appreciated that.
yes, especially in the third episode, which we're about to get to.
Yes,
But the eldest Canary girl ends up getting shot by one of the men who is still alive. And they end up shooting him full of darts. We don't
that
know if they're
guy.
poison or not, but
I
he
assumed
did.
they were, but I mean, he didn't go down right away. So even if they were, they didn't do the classic TV show. I got shot with a poison dart and I'm instantly knocked out. I felt okay. So I clearly did not like that guy. He shot that girl, but I still kind of felt bad for him because he was literally just getting peppered with these darts.
Mhm.
It's not a way I would want to go out. I'll put it that way.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Um, So then the last part of the scene, we get to meet Luffin, who is played by Stellan
Yes,
Skarsgård.
I
Which
like him a lot already.
I do. I'm so happy to see him come to the Star Wars universe.
Me too. He's a
Uh
good
and
actor.
he is the shadowy buyer that Bix has reached out to for the MacGuffin. I don't remember what it's called already.
Box.
Uh, the box. Box MacGuffin, whatever.
Yeah.
So he arrives on Ferrix and ends up on public transportation with this guy that's just talking his head off.
I loved that scene. That was one of the best scenes in the world because that's such a real interaction with you're just sitting on the bus and some guy just sits next to you and starts talking to you about his day and like, when I came here in 83 with my family, it was much nicer and they had better shops and they let us, take ATVs just wherever we wanted to go. Didn't have to ride these stinking hover buses. Like I was like, that's so real.
That is absolutely my dad. My dad, we flew to Disney World on like a company trip that he had won or whatever. And he basically we all get sat in the same row on the plane together and my dad gets stuck like way in the back of the plane. And my mom's like, "Oh, well, he's offering to trade." My dad's like, "No, make some new friends." And literally like we had dinner with the guy the next day. Like my dad just knows how to talk to people.
Yeah,
He is a legit salesman.
that's
Um,
funny.
so, um, so yes, that is how episode 2 ends. I'm probably I don't hate this episode.
No.
I wish some storytelling had been done a little bit differently. But I'm like 3.5 is where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. Like it wasn't out of the 3 episodes, it's the one that had the fewest moments of me being like, "Oh, that's awesome." But like I overall it still felt very solid. Like I wasn't uninterested in what was going on most of the time.
Yeah. Um Sorry, my husband texted me.
You're
Uh
completely fine. I was checking out the episode 3 recap.
yep. Um So I'm going to put an ad break here.
Okay.
And I'll put it a little bit earlier so that Clay knows that I had a big pause. Okay. Um with that, Scott, I'm not sure. If you're talking about doing like a super chat or something, um, then just do it and I will tell Snell and Snell sends it to us. So we appreciate it if that's what you're talking about. I'm guessing. um, so, so going into the third episode,
Yes.
we're still on Ferrix, and the uh, corporation has sent down their troops.
Yeah, those guys. They those guys
You do
are
you, man.
yeah, they're like literally I don't think there was a single group or a single guy in that group that wasn't trying like super hard to just seem like super manly. Like even when they were getting ready to land, it felt like they were all like kind of psyching themselves up a little bit. Like they knew exactly what they were about to do. They were getting ready to go harass people and they were excited about it.
Yeah. They were super excited, and I loved how they reacted to the sergeant's speech and like doing all these things.
That guy, he
And
he really
then
should have
Cyril
prepared his
gets
speech
up.
beforehand. Oh my
I don't
god.
know why he didn't. Like, what did he expect by going against his superior officer's wishes and doing this? I don't get it.
I honestly think like he wasn't expecting to have to give a speech, but then that other guy gave a speech and he's like, "Oh, I should probably give one too." And it's just so it was so bad. Like, and the thing is, like I've been in that spot before where it's like, "All right, now go say something," and you're like, "Oh, I actually have to talk in front of people, and I've not prepared anything," and that's not a position I would want anybody to be in. But this guy is just Weasley enough that I found it amusing instead of feeling bad for him. So I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a really good moment to draw out some humor while
Yeah,
while still being able to take itself seriously.
agreed. Yeah, because it didn't. That's something that I think this show has done really well. Is like it's not lacked in humor. It has peppered in like really good moments of humor, but the whole time it's not lost that serious tone while it's peppering in the humor.
Yeah. Okay, so flashback sequences, let's start with those because I
Okay,
think that these are probably kind of the most important parts of this episode.
agreed.
Um, so they go and they retrieve the leader's body,
Yes.
and I guess start to take it back to camp. And Cassian says, "You know what? I'm gonna explore." Cassian.
Yeah,
Um,
seems to serve
so
him
he goes
well.
in. He goes into the ship and starts to explore, and he kind of sees himself in the mirror. And I thought this was a really good, I don't know what to call it, but like I really thought it was like a good way to explore who Cassian is as a kid and kind
Yeah,
of lead him in the direction because he sees himself in a mirror for the first time and he's like, and it starts bashing everything.
yeah. He like had a teen freak out moment really quickly. And like I still don't quite understand what angered him when he like looked in that reflection. And I'm that's one of the main things I'm hoping that they continue. I really hope this is not the last we've seen of flashbacks. I really do want to see, even if it's going forward after he's left the planet, I want to see more of like who he was as a person back then. Because up till now, it really just feels like he's a kid. He's got a little sister that he's looking out for, and he's trying to fit in with his friends and his community. But that's really all I got from him. Like, I didn't get, what is he hoping for? Like, what's he looking for? He seems adventurous. I definitely get that from him. And so that's one of the biggest question marks for me with this episode is like, what was going through his mind when he started smashing all that equipment?
Yeah, and like especially considering going back to the fact where he said in Rogue One, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
How does that apply considering what we see in this flashback today shows him at like 10 or 11,
See, I would
maybe?
that's younger than I was thinking like 13 or 14, but I'm really bad at judging kids' ages. So
Mhm.
I just I assume that, if you've got a sister that you're like at least a foot taller than, then you're probably a teenage boy. But I mean, I'm wondering, like you said you brought up the line, I've been in this since I was 6 years old. I want to know where all these kids' parents are. I mentioned that earlier. My current theory is that they, something happened, whether it was the Republic or um, something I was really looking forward to with the show, because it was kind of implied we were going to get flashbacks to his childhood, like before we even got the show itself. I was really wondering, did Cassian's parents fight for the Confederacy? Because
Oh,
we have not seen, we've seen a few, like with Bad Batch and Clone Wars, we've seen some um sympathetic views for the CIS, and I want to kind of get
yeah,
more of that's always been from like the leadership, like the senators, or like that. I think it was like a king, or it may have been a senator in Bad
yeah.
Batch. But I want to see more, like you were saying, like the foot level, like the civilians of the CIS systems, and what were their opinions of the Republic, like what were they thinking? And I was kind of hoping for that, and I still am. I hope it goes back even further and shows, what happened to his biological parents, where are they at, things like that.
That could be an interesting way to explore it, especially tying into that phrase because it doesn't this because we didn't start off with a flashback when he's 6 years old, that doesn't mean this is a retcon. That means there's
Correct.
just more story to tell.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see. So do you picture this happening kind of like Book of Boba Fett with the flashback does?
I hope so. I for one could have stood for more Boba Fett flashbacks. That's something that I've said it before. I'll say it again. I loved the flashbacks. I was really hoping for Django flashbacks. So if Book of Boba Fett ever does get confirmed for a season 2, give me some Django flashbacks. I'm asking for them right now, please.
All right. So finishing off the flashbacks in Cassian, in Andor, we have he's bashing up all the equipment, and then we see Marva and her partner. I don't remember getting a name for him.
I'm wondering, because they mentioned at one point in, I think it was this episode, when Cassian's talking to Luthien, that they said Cassian's father got hung in the square, or hung on on some road.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that's who that guy was. I think it's Marva's husband, and I think the two of them were like Cassian's adopted parents. That's the implication
that's what I
anyway.
was thinking too. I I hate labeling relationships unless they're like
That's
spelled
fair.
out.
No, and I only thought that because I had already read that, like, after episode 1, I looked up Cassian's thing, and I saw that he had been adopted. And so when I saw that, that was one of my questions, was, is this his adopted parents? But also, he seemed to have genuine, like, concern for Marva. Like, she took her mask off, and he's like, "Why are you taking your mask off? Please do not take your mask off." And that it didn't read to me as like, my boss is about to die. It was more like, oh no, my wife is not taking care of herself, and I need to jump in here. But that's really the only thing that gave me that impression.
I just I hope that we end up getting more of the father
Yeah.
than we did kind of with Solo, because I don't want this to turn out like Beckett and oh my gosh, what's her name? I don't want this to
Uh,
be like a one and done,
Val,
like he's on screen for 10 minutes kind of
I
situation.
completely
And I
agree.
know he's flashbacking, but
No, I like that.
um I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The Voxen, definitely wrong show. That is Yuzun Vong. and and Anakin Solo versus Anakin Skywalker.
True.
Nerd. Um so and that's kind of how we end off the flashback sequences is Marva basically with B2 emo doses Cassian with like a sleeping drug
Yeah.
and they towed him off planet.
Yeah, that gave me some I was very conflicted about that, because in the moment I see where Marva's kind of coming from. Like, she doesn't see any parents, she doesn't see any family around. I mean, I would assume that if she saw the body of the guy that was killed with all those darts, she would think that it wasn't just one kid, shooting those darts. But I also don't think she was, it didn't feel like she thought she was kidnapping this kid, which she definitely was. She was kidnapping him. That's very clear. He has a family, he had like a community, but it seemed like she thought she was saving him. Like, he just killed a Republic officer, or a Republic official at least. If they catch him, they're going to hurt him. I need to do what I can to help him. Now, why she never took him back, I'm sure we're going to figure that out in, to episodes to come. So I'm trying to reserve full judgment until we get the full picture. But it gave me some uneasy feelings with them just taking him. Something I did want to point out though, I loved. I'm getting attached again. When B2 Emo showed up in the flashback, and he was clean, and he was a little bit newer.
Yes.
I was like, "Oh, he's back!" And then like I said, as soon as I realized I was saying, "Oh," I was like, "Dang it, they're getting me." Disney's too good at making me love droids.
Because you can tell with the age and everything, because
Yeah,
he's not like stuttering. He looks better. He's
yeah.
moving more efficiently. So it really works out. I will be interested to see how they kind of play off of each other. And B2 Emo is, I don't have their names in front of me, but the droid is puppeteered by 3 puppeteers.
Oh
So
wow. I was
yeah,
wondering how
it's a
that worked.
lot
I,
of work.
I like the way he moves. Like I was expecting him to be like an astromech and just have beeps. So when he actually started talking in the first episode, it kind of took me by surprise. I hadn't actually looked
I
it up
know.
beforehand, so it was kind of a little uncanny at first because I was not expecting an actual voice. But after I got used to it, it like I don't. I'm trying so hard not to get attached to this droid. You have to understand this, and it's not working very well.
What if in the future they implant him into Rogue One? Like just CGI him in an episode. Or into
Okay,
the movie.
so I had a theory. Well, I should theory is too strong of a word. I made a joke on Twitter about how K2SO gets reprogrammed by putting B2 Emo into K2SO's body, and I said that as a joke, and now I'm actually getting attached to B2 Emo. I'm kind of hoping it comes true because
Oh,
I
that
would
would be
not be
so
surprised if they
cool.
retconned that one comic book. That in fact, I have the Rogue One graphic novel, and it's got like how Cassian met K2SO at the back. Hold on. And I would not be mind, or I would not mind if they retconned this issue a little bit, just because I'm all for retcons from book to show or book to movie if that's what it takes to tell a good story.
It's told from
So
a different point of view, so it doesn't
yeah,
necessarily have to be retconning.
agreed. Yeah, I try to just kind of approach the story that's being put in front of me and not compare it. If there are connections, now I freak out and I get giddy because, like I said, I'm a lore junkie. But if not, then I try not to get too disappointed.
I'm very big into like canon timelines. Like my Legends shelf is all in
Yep.
is timeline order. That shelf is my canon one. That's all in timeline order. Very big canon nerd.
Yeah, my
Um,
bookshelf's in canon order as well, timeline order.
Difficult question number 5. Do you like us old heads?
I
I'm
don't
going
know
to
what that.
assume you mean like Star Wars fans that like what George Lucas did and not necessarily a huge fan of what Disney's done. I don't. I think Star Wars is for everyone, and if you don't like what Disney's done, then fine. But that doesn't mean you have to completely and utterly like take down anyone who likes what Disney's doing.
Agreed.
Um, so
Yeah,
I Nathan, one of my old co-hosts, he makes a appearance every now and then. He does not like pretty much anything Disney's done. He likes a couple things. I don't hate him. The guy's great. So
yeah, I'm in the same boat. I feel like as long as everybody's being respectful and nobody's like, oh, you like that movie, okay, then I feel like it's there's room for everybody. I mean, I'm gonna say something that's gonna be very controversial, especially considering the topic that we're covering. My least favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One. Now,
mine too.
when I say this,
Well, like of the Disney stuff.
total for me, like period. And it's not that I dislike Rogue One. I like to say the way I describe it is that it's like, I'm looking at different steaks and they're all prepared well. So even the least best one is still really good. And so that's how I describe Star Wars. I still love Rogue One, so I'm not saying I dislike Rogue One by any means. It's just, the lowest of my list. And so some of my best friends, that Rogue One's their favorite, like, of all
Mhm.
time. And so when they talk about it, it gets me more into it. So, I definitely welcome anybody that does not like what I like, as long as they'll not, put me down for liking it, because I feel like I can probably convince you to at least see some good in it, if not enjoy it more.
Mhm. And you don't have to love Andor and take down other forms of Star Wars media. Like a lot of people on Twitter are like,
Agreed.
Andor's better than Mando by leaps and bounds. You don't have to do that.
Yep.
Andor's your favorite show. That's all you have to say. So,
And Star Wars is getting to the point where, like, everything is so. Andor's a very good example of this. Everything's different. Like, you don't, like you said, you don't have to pit them against each other, but even the shows themselves feel so tonally different that pitting them against each other sometimes feels, strange, or maybe not dishonest, but just feels like a weird comparison.
and that's why I'm so excited about the future of Star Wars is because we're getting stuff like this where it doesn't just have to be an action flick. It can be some deep sentimental story about just the little people involved
Yeah.
and take on different genres. I think that's the beauty of sci-fi fantasy, science
Yeah.
fantasy, whatever you want to call it, is that it can encompass really any genre you want.
Hmm.
Um, we have some great love stories in Star Wars books that are pretty great.
Yeah.
And Mysteries, Trail of Shadows, if you've not read that comic book by Daniel Jose Older, phenomenal comic book. I
It was
cannot
very
believe
good.
that is only his second comic book and his first adult comic book. Like,
Yeah.
I loved that comic book.
That was
Um,
very good.
so
I'm a very big fan of both. Honestly, my two favorite Daniel Jose Older projects in Star Wars are his two comics. Like, I
mm,
love those comic series so much, and like you were saying, they both feel so different. Like, the two of them, if you put the two of them
yes.
together and said, these are two Star Wars stories from the same person, please read both of these back to back, you would not believe that it's even, and sometimes the same universe, even though there's characters that cross over. And that's one thing I'm very much appreciating with Star Wars, as far the more it expands.
Mhm. All right. So the Empire, I guess. No, the corporate people. Going back to Andor. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Topic
you're good.
reframing. Um, no, I'm saying that more for like the listeners later on. So going
No.
back to Andor. Um, so we have the corporation that has settled. They're all on Ferrix. You have a north, a south, a west, and an east team, all trying to converge on Cassian Andor's location. But first, I think it's the east team. No, it's the west team. The west team goes to Marva Andor's home, where Cassian stays when he's in town, I guess. And
Yeah,
Cassian had basically told B2EMO that he was leaving and that here was a comm unit in case he couldn't get back to give the credits. But that he was going to try and take care of Marva in the best way possible.
yeah.
Um, and so they're at the Andor residence. And as kind of they swarmed onto the building, some of the civilians on Ferrix had kind of taken up basically banging on like wind chimes, almost like
I
different
thought
sets of
that
wind
was
chimes.
super cool. I was really into that. I liked and I really liked how it, like, started off with just, the one guy running to do it, and then slowly people just started picking it up, and it just started getting louder and louder. Like, I really loved that. And one of my favorite things about that was, like, it clearly felt like they were, like, they were sending a message. It almost reminded me of Lord of the Rings, with the when they shoot the pillars of fire, like they're just shooting the arrows, to, like, let people know. It's definitely not the same, because it's, a visual versus an audio cue, but that's the same vibe it gave me. Was like it just kind of rung out and was like spreading this message throughout this town. And I thought that was a really cool aspect. And then the guards, they're not from there, so they're just trying to intimidate us. They're just putting on a show. And so like they had no idea that these people were basically sending a warning to Cassian as they're trying to arrest him. I just thought that was a really neat touch.
And especially for how much Cassian got hate in all the episodes, in each
Yeah.
of the episodes from like different people in the area, it was interesting to say the least. Like how they did that, and then the in the wind chime banging,
Yeah.
coupled with the tower banging, it all stops, and that draws out like a perfect scene from Lily Shaw, who plays Marva.
Yeah.
And that's where we get the quote from the trailer, that's the start of a reckoning.
She had another quote that like I really loved, and I'm gonna paraphrase here. I'm really bad at quoting people without having it pulled up, but she says something about like you don't have to be scared when it's going. It's like when it stops that you should be scared. She said that, and I was just like,
Mhm.
oh dang, that's a good line. Like they're giving her a lot of good lines in this show.
They really did, and she played it off really well, like mic drop.
It reminded me of like mobster movies when like the Godfather's like wife is just like just as like confident and terrifying as he is. Like she just had that vibe of like I'm good, like I've got people coming for me, you're the one that should be scared right now. Like it was just a
Yeah,
very confident vibe, and I dug it.
I loved it. Um, and so the B2 Emo is with Marva at this point, and they were able to
Yeah,
trace Cassian's location because he used the comm link to message B2 Emo.
and they bullied B2 emo.
I hate it when this happens. I'm like, can you just like cut off the comm link? Like,
I mean,
uh,
I think in most situations like that, you should just assume that like if there are cops around like that and the droid that you're trying to get a hold of does not reach back out to you, it's probably compromise. Just seems like a safe
yeah.
bet at that point.
Or like have like a beep sequence or something where you can just
Yeah.
say like, I don't understand. Like, why would you not like think about that? Oh my gosh. Um, so Cassian and Luffin meet
Yeah.
at an abandoned factory. Um,
Motor factory
and
or something like that.
motor factory, yeah. And Bix finds out that Tim turned in Cassian after sleeping with him the previous night.
Yeah.
Um, so she goes to go after him and basically gets caught by North Squad.
That guy is not smooth at all, by the way. I just wanted to say that. He's like
No, he's not.
completely distracted, and she's like, "Hey, you were literally just complaining about that trash in the alleyway this morning. Why is it still there?" He's like, "Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry." And it's like, dude, you are like being very clear that you are up to something right now, man.
Absolutely. Like, it was, I was just going, oh, dude, you're so stupid.
Yes,
Um,
that's exactly what I was doing.
and so he goes after Bix because Bix is furious with him because
Hmm.
now she's kind of figured out, oh, you turned him in. Um, and so she goes after him
Yeah.
and gets handcuffed to a wall and like kind of slapped in the face.
Did she get slapped in the face? I looked away for a second. I thought she got like her head bashed on the wall.
I don't remember.
I
She might have gotten bashed in the wall, but she basically got hit into the wall or hit into a
it
hand.
because I it looked like there was like blood on the side of her head, and I was like, oh dang, they got her. Like
Yeah.
I remember being like, wow, these guys are like not messing around. They are really on like full on fascist state mode. Like we are gonna beat it out of you until you give us the information we need.
Yeah. And so they're like pinning her to the wall and handcuffing her to it. And Tim comes out and he's like, hey, wait, she's bleeding. She's crying. No, not allowed. And
Right.
then one of the guys gets trigger happy and shoots Tim dead.
Just immediately. And I felt bad. I was like, I feel like the guy that plays Tim is friends with one of the writers, and they're like, well, we can't make this guy completely irredeemable. Let's just like have him sacrifice himself or something like that.
that that's definitely what happened. But like Big still feels bad about his death, and she's
Yeah,
left there because Northgard's like, "You're going back to the ship. Give me your blaster. We're going
yeah,
to find Cassie."
yeah.
Um, and so I, Garrett, I felt bad for Tim too,
I did too.
only
Yeah.
for a little bit because he
Well,
turned in Cassia.
yeah, I was just, well, and like I understand because it feels very clear that he does not trust Cassian the way everybody else seems. Even the people who like Cassian owes money seem to trust him a little bit more than Tim did. And I
Yeah.
was really kind of wondering, like, is that just because he felt like Cassian was, moving in on his girl, like he seemed to think? Or was it like, did they have some sort of interaction in the past? Or maybe Cassian owes him money too, and we just don't know about it. Like, he's like, this dude, would you think I trust him with my girlfriend? That dude owes me 10,000 credits. Like, what do you think I'm gonna do? uh,
Oh, yeah. So Tim ends up dead, and Cassian and Luffin have a really good scene in the factory
yes, I loved that scene.
where it was really well played. Luffin had an answer for everything Cassian wanted to throw at him. Um, and basically was like, "I'm here for you. I don't give a shit about the box."
Yeah, it had a very similar vibe to the scene in Solo when Han first meets Beckett, and it's just like
Yeah.
you see where Cassian learned a lot of his, because Cassian's very smooth already. Like he's clearly like a smooth operator, but like he's not a spy yet. He's just a dude looking for information. Whereas like Luthien shows up and it's like, oh, that's probably gonna be the guy that teaches him how to actually like get out of situations. I loved his little like never walk into a or plan your exit as you're entering a situation or something like it just feels very
Yeah,
spy movie
like
like here's the rules to be a spy.
it totally was. So that's why I'm so interested to see him on Coruscant because he's got the long hair. So I
Yeah,
imagine we're going to be getting some Luthen flashbacks, especially
yeah,
with the girl we see him with in the trailer. Very interested to see how that'll play out.
yeah,
But I really liked I thought the choreography and the scenes with Luthen and Cassian were very well done.
yeah.
Um just to kind of like play off the spacing, but then also the action that comes in with the exit being
Yes,
generated.
yes. He's like literally he doesn't even say anything, Cassian. He's like, I've got an exit, it's okay, and then just well, he did tell him he planted charges. So that's a little unfair. He's like, no, I got some charges, and Cassian didn't even have time to be like, oh, he's got charges. He's just like, when did you have time to plant those? Like he's like, boom, we're getting out of here. I thought that was pretty good. I think Luthien's probably like my MVP character so far. He
Yeah,
he just seems like any scene he's in, I want to know what's going on in his mind. Cassian too, if I'm being honest, but Cassian I feel like I've already know pretty well as far as Rogue One kind of set us up, and this show has done a good job just in the first 3 episodes of making me feel like, oh, I thought I knew Cassian really well, but there's more to him. So Luthien's really the new person that I'm most interested in learning a little bit more about.
I definitely think so. So everything kind of ends. Bix mourns over Tim's body. Cassian and Luthen manage to escape, might I add, in a very dashing way. Um, I was really surprised in the first speeder they sent out with the explosives when it flips over and catches on fire. Why didn't the explosives ignite?
That's a very good question. I didn't actually think about that until you just said that. That
That bugged
it
the crap
felt
out of me because I was like, hmm,
it felt very swashbucklerish, like like a maybe like a Three Musketeers esque story where they're like they send out a cart and they're like, oh, I'll catch the cart, and then you see I don't know. It felt very roguish, and I like that that's where they're leaning into because that's what Cassian felt like to me. It was like I don't know if you play D&D at all, but Cassian always felt like a rogue to me, which is just kind of like the stealthy characters, like they kind of operate in the shadows, and so I really do like that. That's kind of the route that they're taking with his recruitment into the rebellion.
gotcha. For me, this one's a solid 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah,
There's still like what's left is like very nitpicky things.
yeah,
So I'm not like too concerned about it, but this was definitely my favorite episode. It kind of gets you in the right direction. I can see, as much as I hate it, I can see why they dropped 3 episodes just to kind
Yeah.
of get you in the groove, because the 2 episodes, if they'd have just dropped that second episode, like there was an article, like Slash Film put out an article, and it was written by Ernesto, one of the guys I write with, and he was like, "Look, make it to the 3rd episode of Andor. You will not regret it." Like, and
Yeah.
it basically was like, "Look, we know the 2nd episode sucks. Go to the 3rd episode. You won't regret it."
I think the 3rd
So
episode's probably my favorite of the 3. I was gonna say 4.5. I know you said not to do, or that you're trying not to do increments anyway. Maybe 4.6, just because it's a little bit better. I liked it a little bit more than the first episode, but I thought that overall the 3-episode premiere was very solid, because it's very easy to just drop 3 episodes and have them be just 3 different episodes. This felt like one big story, and I really appreciated that vibe to it.
absolutely. Um, and it gets you into the, oh yeah, this does feel like a movie. But
Yeah,
then like you want the next piece of it because it's a longer story.
yeah.
So I think calling it very apt to a movie doesn't hurt it in the slightest. It takes
It
a little time to get there. And the production, that's one
Yes,
thing, like the
it's
production is
beautiful.
phenomenal.
It's a beautiful
You
show,
can
yeah.
tell they didn't use the volume.
Yeah. I hate, because I like the volume. I think the volume's really interesting when it's used well. But yeah, there was definitely a noticeable difference with this and then like some of the other shows that we've seen recently.
Yep. All right. So I'm gonna put an ad break in here.
Okay.
12609. So to kind of oh my
Bless,
gosh.
bless you.
Fuck. Ow. Uh hurt myself sneezing. um okay. So Scott had one more question.
Okay.
Um and he said, who is the better villain, Darth Vader or Anton Chigurh? I totally butchered that last name. I don't know who Anton is. I have never seen that movie.
Hold on, me
So,
neither. I'm Googling it. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I hate to say this, but I have not seen that movie either. The No Country for Old Men.
sorry, Scott. So we're gonna have to just default to Darth Vader.
Maybe I need to watch it now just because it does have a lot of actors in it that I really like. But yeah, I mean, so Darth Vader, if you know me well enough, you'll know Anakin/Vader. That's my favorite Star Wars character. Like that's who. If he's in something, I'm gonna be like reading it or watching it or whatever. So yeah, Darth Vader gets my answer on that one. Now, when I say that, I do not idolize him. I gotta
No
be clear
killing
about that
children,
one.
Zach.
Yeah, very very clear on that
YouTube,
one.
please don't strike me for that.
Yeah,
That was a
don't
joke.
don't
I'm sorry.
demonetize us.
Um, so where do you think we're gonna go for episode 4?
That's the biggest question, and I'm I'm hoping it's mostly flashbacks at this point, because I want to see how Cassian adjusts. I saw somebody actually pointing out that final shot of Cassian as the younger Cassian when he's like looking out the window, kind of reflected the end of Rogue One when he was like looking at the oncoming light of the Death Star, and I thought that was a nice little comparison, and it made me want to know what happens from that point. Like, how does Cassian adjust to leaving this planet? How does he learn to speak basic if he doesn't already know how to speak it? Like, I want to see that process, and it may just be a little bit of the nitty gritty on there, but that's the kind of stuff that I like to get into. I mean, I'm very much like a geography nerd, historical nerd, cultural nerd. So I like to see that kind of interaction of stuff.
I think it'll be cool to play off, and with Tony Gilroy being involved in Rogue One, I can imagine we're going to see some similarities
Yeah,
in production, mirror images, as they complete the story for
yeah,
Cassian and Andor. So it'll be cool to see. I I would think we're going to see some more flashbacks. Probably it's just going to be Luffin and Cassian in the ship,
mhm,
headed to wherever they're going. And they're kind of going to be getting to know each other. Like
Yeah.
Luthen may start to go into the story of his daughter, or not daughter, the younger girl that we think is his daughter that probably
Yeah.
got killed. And then we may see Andor talk about like adjusting to the galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
So
Ye-
that's what I think is going to happen. Everybody who has seen, because the screeners were for the first 4 episodes,
Yeah.
everybody who has seen the 4th episode has said, if you liked the first 3 episodes, just wait till the 4th episode.
I've been seeing that as well, and it makes me very interested. It makes me wonder if we're going to get a Saw Gerrera appearance. That's
That would
what
be
I'm hoping
that would
for.
be a little early, I think.
It might be a little early, but I love Saw Gerrera. He's very interesting to me. Anytime he pops up in something, I'm like immediately like, ooh, Saw's here. So yeah, I want to. It's probably just wishful thinking at this point, but that's kind of where I'm. Or either that, or we'll finally get to see what's going on with Mon Mothma.
Gotcha. Well, y'all, I think this brings us to the conclusion for today's episode. Star Wars Alliance number something. I don't remember. Uh, we're getting close to 100 though.
Nice.
Episode 100, Tales of the Jedi comes out. So, whatever that math makes. So Zach, tell us where they can find you.
I'm on Twitter at Flying Grayson. Let's see. Hold on. Let me make sure because I have not given this out in a long time. Yeah, at Flying Grayson, and that's Grace Grace son. So, next time we do this next week, I'll make sure that I put it in my name. I didn't think about it this time around, but
You're fine. You're fine. Clay will have it in the description box below, so y'all can go check him out. And of course, if you're following Star Wars Alliance on Twitter, he will be tagged in the Twitter post for tomorrow, and he was tagged in the live post for today.
yes,
And Star Wars Alliance, you can find on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the 8 in the war. It's very important. Don't forget it. My other show on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network is Slice of Film, and that is on Twitter. It's at Slice of Film 1. We will be talking about Don't Worry, Darling next. So very excited for that, especially with all the drama, because I enjoy drama. It's fun. So with that, you can find me on Twitter. It's at Slice of Katie. And you can also find me on Instagram at that same username. So with that, y'all, I want to show you a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching. And we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.